Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And this week we have a very special guest for you. We are joined by the amazing Rob Mello. You guys may know Rob best as John Toombs from Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, as well as Paramount Plus's 1883 Western TV series Yuri. Rob, how are you today?
Doing good. It's a little chilly here, but I'll make it.
Yeah, so whereabouts are you calling us from?
I'm a little south of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh wow, is it so you kind of just coming out of the winter period?
Yeah, yeah. It was nice and
Brutal.
warm the other day, so I raked out the garden of the 10,000 pounds of dead leaves. So I'm looking forward to the spring. We got a lot of plans for a garden and all that. So
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah, do you know what? I think the springtime is always. I mean, we have the same here. So I'm based in the UK, so we definitely hit all four seasons, and we're just coming out of the -8, 9 degrees. So when
mhm.
spring comes, it's like a blessing.
Oh God, yeah. Well, we live on a lake, and my fiance just if she could just live in basically Orlando kind of weather, and she finds her happy place in the water. So
Oh, that'd be
looking forward to
perfect.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, as I mentioned in the introduction, Rob, most people probably will know you best as John Toombs from Happy Death Day, which I believe was a independent movie that then got picked up by a lot of sort of companies. I think Blumhouse picked it up, and there was another one,
Universal. Universal.
Universal. That's the one. Did you, when you kind of got that role, did you expect it to blow up the way it did?
No, not at all. It was just an indie horror film. Elizabeth Coulon in New Orleans. I was living in New Orleans at the time.
Hmm.
Um, she had cast me in The Best of Me, Magnificent Seven, a bunch of stuff. And it was just an indie film in-person audition. And it was kind of a weird audition because it was the hospital room scene. And, I'm supposed to jump up out of the bed and kill the cop. And I'm like, I'm gonna be standing. How the hell do I do this? So I called my good friend Derek Roberts, and he was like, well, just make like the wall is, the bed, and just lunge at the fucking camera. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. Yeah. So I did that and scored it. But when we're done with principal photography, uh, and I'm on the throne, which is where you do your best thinking, and I'm flipping through Variety and whatnot, and I saw we got picked up by Universal, and I'm like, yes, this means residuals. And then we got picked up by Bloomhouse, and I threw my phone. I was like, woo! And really exciting. And when I got to do a little bit of ADR is when I was like, I called my agent. I was like, Mom, this one might be this one might be a pretty big one. So it was really exciting.
Yeah, and it most definitely turned out into a big one because, even now, it's still so highly regarded and highly watched by a lot of fans of not just even horror. Like I know a lot of people that don't like horror movies, but they love, especially the first one, Happy Death Day.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's got something to do with the style. Like the like the Groundhog Day effect, especially with the first one,
yeah.
is there's something that's a bit kind of unique that hasn't really been touched on, especially in horror. Um, I'm kind of interested for you. So, what was the sequence? So, when you read the script, did you read it in a sequence of it was like repetition Groundhog Day style, or did you kind of know what was happening throughout the movie?
Well, of course, you read the script, you know the movie. But the second one was a bitch to read
Yeah.
because it was everywhere, you know, all at once. But it was written by Scotty Lobdell, who he writes a lot of comics. The first one, and it was just I don't know, man. It was an easy read, and it was a lot of fun to envision what's going to happen, you know, before you shoot. And uh, I had a few questions, so I went to. We shot in downtown New Orleans, and the hospital scene was a old teaching hospital. It's abandoned for LSU, Louisiana State, and so I called Chris. I told him, I was like, dude, you know, I got a couple of questions before I get on set, and you know, I'm doing my work. You know, I had already made the character, but how to translate that character into the rest of the script outside of the audition. And the scene was when I snatched Tree up and slam her against the wall and take her knife and, you know, all that. Uh, she's a sorority girl. And so nothing right there, that whole scene, I don't know any sorority girl. I don't know very many women at all that would like automatically knee me in the balls, especially if I got a knife to your throat. And, you know, I'm snatched you up and all that. I'm like, there's got to be an impetus. There's got to be something that just so reviles her that it clicks in her head. And he's like, all right, what do you got? I was like, well, there's two things that I know that would creep any woman out, period. Is one, getting sniffed and getting licked. Like, ugh. And like, for instance, in Braveheart, I don't know if you've seen that when that
Yeah.
soldier guy licks the girl, you know, he's got her on the ground, you know, they're going to grape her and he licks her. I'm just like, oh God, that's so
Yeah.
fucking disgusting. So he's like, all right, what do you got in mind? I'm like, well, and we did one take and I wanted a legit reaction from her. So like I started at her collarbone and went like right up to her ear and like sniffed her and said, I bet you taste like cotton candy. And then I lick her fucking right across the face. And that's when I kind of stepped back a bit and I'll be damned, you do taste like cotton candy. And that's when she, boom, right in the nuts. And we ended the scene. She went to talk to Chris and we never did that again. Because the very first shot is called the master shot. So every other take that you do after that, you know, with angles and whatnot, you have to do the same thing over and over and over again for continuity's sake. And I don't blame her. I wouldn't want me licking my face 15 times for 15 different shots either. So yeah. And it's funny because I was, you know, with security there on the bottom floor and they were up, I think it was the 7th floor. But like I said, it was an abandoned hospital. So there's tons of like beds like stacked everywhere. And, you know, they were still shooting. So I couldn't go up and, you know, disturb shooting. And so I took a nap. And this security guy shakes me awake. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Don't touch me. Are you out of your mind? He's like, no, man, you can't, but you bums can't fucking sleep here, man. This, you know, we're shooting a movie here and da, 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 and I'm security and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I know, I'm in it. He's like, what? So I told Chris, the director, that, and he started cackling his ass off. Well, apparently, that did not please the assistant director, the AD. And that guy was on parking lot duty for the rest of the shoot. I had nothing to do with it. I thought it was funny as hell, but
Yeah.
I mean, at least he still had a job, I guess.
I could just imagine, right? Like, once you've told him I'm on the movie, he must have been just like horrified
Yeah.
about what he's just done. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, he's doing his job, you know.
Yeah, yeah. He's
And
just picked the wrong
there are
person.
a lot of there are a decent amount of homeless in New Orleans because it's warm weather, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't blame him for doing his job, you know, but I didn't ask for him to be punished or demoted or whatever.
No, no.
You know?
No, I mean it's nothing. I mean it's there's literally nothing you could have done at that point. Like you're just having a nap.
Yeah, I was just waiting. Well, I mean, you know, uh I don't know. I guess people picture, people that are actors in movies and stuff like that, that would wear, I don't know, a fucking tuxedo or,
Oh, right.
their garb, the way they carry themselves. It would belie that, they're in films and whatnot. I was dressed like a fucking bum, you know. My hair was all ratty and shit, and you know. But anyway, that was funny. A lot of funny shit happened on that set.
Yeah. So in regards, obviously, I'm not going to worry about spoilers because I'm not being funny. People right now must have seen the movie. It's been out for quite a while. So obviously you were. It's hard to explain. So you were one of the killers, but not the primary villain because there was like a group.
Yeah, I was the red herring.
The red herring. That's the one. So which kills in the movie did you actually do or perform?
Uh, I shot the nurse and Israel's character. I snapped his neck.
The neck. Yes. I heard
And
about
then,
this. So was it? Is it true? So sorry. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Is it true that there was potentially like a different ending to that death, and you changed it?
yeah. Well, it was I was supposed to, wrestle with him and stab him or shoot him somehow. And Chris is like, this just now that I'm looking at the space, it doesn't work. So what can we do? I was like, well, he's this little rinky dink college kid. I'm this interstate murderer. I'll snap his fucking neck. He's like, yeah, let's try it. So we got with the stunt coordinator and all that. I got tackled. That was fun. But I got tackled and, I club him a couple times and like, right. And the funniest thing is, I was rewatching it a couple years afterwards with my wife at the time. And I'm about to fall asleep because, of course, I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
And she just starts cackling at the top of her lungs. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And she's like, watch this. And she rewinds it and then holds it. So right when I pick him up and grab him by the chin, I flash this big old shit eating grin at Tree, just like, I love my job. Snap. Don't remember doing it, but it was funny as hell because it was just like, what a great still that is. It's just like, yeah, go me. But yeah, when I arrive in the scene and she's pushing the buttons trying to escape, Chris was telling me that the masked killer never in horror, and I know this, but the masked killer in horror never reveals what's under the mask. And he's like, so this is not a first, but it's kind of a first. So I need you to give me the creepiest, most fucked up look at her. And I was like, okay. So like, Jess is a cutie pie. I mean, she's itty bitty, not my type at all, but she is a cutie pie. So I looked her up and down like she was a goddamn lollipop. You know what I mean? I'm just like, ooh, ooh, yeah. And then, that's when I get tackled. But yeah, that scene was a lot of fun.
The thing is, I that out of all the kills, I mean, there's so many in this movie, but for me, that always sticks in my head as like they just felt something more personal, and I think maybe it could be because it was, maybe also you didn't have the mask on, so we could see your face actually doing the snapping of the neck. But there was just something that felt really personal about that one, and I always remember that kill sticks out in my head the most. That's why I really wanted to talk to you about it.
Well, he little bastard, you don't get between a predator and his prey, man. So he got he got what was coming to him.
Absolutely. Um, so I suppose before you got casted for the role as Happy Death Day, I'm really interested to know about your early life in acting. So, how did you first sort of discover acting? How did you first get into the industry?
Well, I did a couple plays in high school, And one of them was a Woody Allen "Don't Drink the Water."
Mm-hmm.
And I played a Jewish American that's trapped behind the Iron Curtain, right? And it was a choral room. It wasn't like a stage, you know. Uh, and it was really intimate. And like my lines, I had half the book. It's like this, so I had half of it for lines, and I'm just like, fuck, man. In addition to going to school and doing schoolwork and football and all that, and so there was one scene on opening night. It was real intimate. It was me and my wife. We're plotting on how to escape and all that jazz, and my mind went totally fucking blank. And I'm like, oh shit. And she's trying to prompt me, and nope, nothing. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna riff. So it was a bunch of family and a lot of students and stuff. And I mean, I got the pinky rings, the chest hair poking out, a shirt that's just so and shit like that. So real Jackie Mason style. And there was a seat front center, and somebody's grandma was in the seat next to it. And so I just sat down. I just started hitting on this old lady in character for like 5 minutes. I got this crowd. I mean, in fucking stitches. My wife's on stage. She's knitting. She's like, "Oh, he's a flirt. Don't worry." She totally. We were best friends, and she was my smoking partner. So we partied a lot. So we had that chemistry anyway. And so like after about 5 minutes, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember where I was." I was like, "Well, darling, I'll see you after this show. I gotta go get back in character, guys. All right." And then boom, the place fucking erupted. So there was a yeah, I mean, we finished the scene, all that, but there was just something about the, I don't know, endorphins or something when you're
Yeah.
entertaining people and you're into it, you're good, you're nailing it, and they're fucking loving it. And I was just like, ah. So I'm living in Tampa at the time. Fast forward, living in Tampa, Florida, and I'm working two jobs 6 days a week. And so I've got one day off, and we're still stealing from the light bill to pay the water bill and da 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 da. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me go find a like $100 a day job. $400 a month helps. And so I came across this ad. This guy was looking for actors and background and extras and da 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 da. So I shoot him a message, and it was for a SAG short. I don't know what the hell any of that means. And I shoot him a message. I was like, hey man, I was in a couple of high school plays. Uh, what's up? He's like, all right, we'll pay you $100 a day and feed you pizza. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Stupid me. I thought it was a continuing job. I didn't know it was like this one time thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I had, I probably wouldn't have responded. And so he's like, all right, well, send over your headshot, your demo if you have one, and your resume. Now I'm thinking demo. I'm like, demo, the only context I heard that in, it was music. And I'm like, I'm not a fucking musician. I don't have a demo, dude. And I was like, headshots, I don't have that either. But I sent him my working resume, my restaurant resume. And he's like, no, dude, you know what? Just snap a photo with your phone and send it over. And so I know what you look like, so I can place you, wherever you're gonna be. So I did. And he called me, and he was like, dude, I need you to come in, and you've got a great look, which that phrase took me about 2 years to figure out. And you've got a great look, and I want you to come in for a cold read. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, it's just, you read the scene with me, and we'll go from there. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did. I was in the middle of I was on break during a double, and walked over to the office, and the guy I was supposed to read with was an actor, and guess who didn't get the job because he was late.
Oh.
uh, he was late, so me and his name's Palomino. We start going through the scene, and the first read was real vanilla because I didn't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. And he was like, all right, let's go smoke a cigarette, man. We'll talk. He's like, all right, this is the deal with this character. And he told me about the guy's life. And he's like, okay, now if you're that guy in this scene, having gone through all the shit that you've gone through, and this guy says this to you, what would you do? I was like, I'd knock his fucking chiclets down his throat, man. He's like, great, do that. And I'm like, those days are over. I'm not gonna hit anybody for $100. You gotta up the ante a little bit. A couple more bucks would be nice. And he's like, no, not literally, don't hit him, but that sort of energy, if that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, I think so. And he was cool if I was loose with the script. And so dude got there and he was, I don't know, smaller fellow. And I'm 6 feet, 190. And we're going through the scene and like right at the point where he said this triggering line, I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? And Palomino jumps up and he's like, that was fucking perfect. Let's do it. Let's do it. And it scared the ever loving shit out of my scene partner because it's not in the script. And I can be a little scary sometimes. I understand. So we shoot it, and sometime later, like a month later, or whatever, we shoot it. And after shoots, you generally, have a beverage, a celebratory beverage. So we're at this hotel in Tampa, and we're having beer and shit. And he's like, dude, you should really think about making this a career, because you won't get rich and famous, but you won't have to work 6 days a fucking week in order to live. And I was like, all right, cool. So I did. I found me a class, incredible class that taught me everything I needed to know. And I was in that class for some years. And that's the shit of it. When I decided to do it, to really go for it, I told my boss, I'm like, dude, you got to stop scheduling me quite so much because I'm taking this class. He's like, what class are you taking? I'm like, it's an acting class. He looks me up and down. And he's like, is that what you want to do? I was like, well, yeah, this is why I'm taking the fucking class, dude. He's like, you're too old. I mean, he listed off reason why I would never be able to be in a movie or anything like that. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. Thank you for your opinion. Stop fucking scheduling me so much. So he did, and the rest is kind of history.
See, do you know what? They're the moments, right, that I love the most. Like I love the energy we get when I do these interviews, especially a story you just said there, where somebody's like drilling into that you're not going to do it, and they can list every reasons why you can't do something, but you're in your head, you're like, I know I've got this. Like I don't
Yeah.
need anyone else's opinion. That's amazing. I love those stories.
Well, that's the point of that's a lot of the tripping points for a lot of creatives is self-doubt, and that's reinforced by the people around you. But you've got to trust in, you see something nobody else sees,
Yeah,
and you've got to figure out how to allow it to come to fruition. And
right.
luckily, I scored my agent, who's fucking incredible. And I didn't have shit for credits, but I had this and a really good ability. And like we did a showcase for them. It's a husband and wife partnership. And the scene I did was from the film Instinct. Incredible fucking film, one of my favorites. And it was when Anthony Hopkins snatches up Cuba Gooding Jr. and I'm gonna snap your fucking neck kind of thing. And my scene partner Tara, great fucking guy, incredible comedian, and just super talented. But it's just preparation meets opportunity. So you've got to do the fucking legwork, and I use Eric Moore's process of acting, and it's incredibly personable, and psychological. A lot of psychology in it. So
Amazing.
you got to believe in
Um,
yourself.
yeah, that's it. And it can go not just for acting, it can go for anything. It can go for whether you're a musician or an artist or I don't
Yep.
know. a builder, if that's whatever you want to do, like if you just have that, if you have that drive, that work ethic, and you believe in yourself, you could do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. And I was always told that kind of shit by my parents. They were really uplifting, and a
Yeah.
lot of parents I kind of stop children's creativity out of them, in favor of a real job and shit like that. You know, I love that shit. Oh, you're an actor. You're one of them fucking people. Da, 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 da. Why don't you get a real job? I'm like, dude, I paid more in taxes last year than you fucking grossed. So, who's the asshole in this equation?
No, exactly. And you spoke early about how you started doing some stage work and theatre work. Is that something that you could see yourself doing now or going into again?
Uh, Kind of as a one-off. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere, so there's not a lot of stage. Stage is a lot of fun.
Mm.
Uh, I did a play in I used to live in rural ass Alabama, Greenville. Cool little town, some of the best people you'll ever meet, but they're dirt fucking poor.
Right.
And that's one of those towns where there's not a lot of creativity. It's starting to get better, but some friends, acquaintances rather, they became friends. But some friends had formed a little community theater uh, that was really grassroots, and they were going to do a dinner theater, and it was a comedy. And I was like, I'll audition, and they were like, well, no, you can have the fucking part,
Oh.
just. I was like, all right, cool. So like 2 days before, I mean, everybody else was off book, and just like with the Woody Allen, I got tons of lines. And comedy hits best when it hits fast. So it's boom,
Mm.
boom, 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 boom. So it's all about timing as well. And I was just having trouble with the script, just memorizing all of that. And luckily, I was staying with a fellow who taught theater for like 40 years. So every morning I'd go up and he'd make me breakfast and we'd run over the lines. His name's Paul Tate, Uncle Paul. And he's like, I'd stumble and I'm like, fuck. He's like, no, 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 you got it. Go. You know the fucking words, dude. Just do it. Don't worry about this, 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 this. Just focus on this. So they we'd be at practice and I'd still have my script and everybody would be off book and I'm just like I feel like a total asshole, man. Because they put all this faith in me, I'm the headliner and all that shit. The show sold out, by the way. And
Wow.
like 2 days before I'm still stumbling on lines and they were getting really fucking worried, but on game day, on fucking point, baby.
Gee. Gee, see that's the thing. It could be one of those that you're clearly in that there's something like instilled in you, right? That as soon as moment hits where people think like there's doubt or something that you think shit, this something bad could happen, you just seem to roll with it and it just flows perfectly.
Yeah. I don't
To
I don't
me, I
know.
I would
I don't
I know myself, like this is all right. I'm somebody that I've never done acting in my life. Okay, so like I
No, that's
don't have any
bullshit. You do it
experience in
every
that.
day, dude. You act
Oh,
every day. You just don't realize.
but stage performance, like
Well, you talk
I
you
would just
talk to your love
crumble.
differently than the way you're talking to me, right?
This is true. Yeah, this is true, and the same with work
That's
as
it.
well, right? So you have to like be professional with jobs and stuff. So like, yeah,
All
I see
acting
your
is
point.
a state of being, dude.
Yeah,
You
but
don't you don't get up. Do you drink coffee
yeah, of course, yeah,
in the morning?
yeah.
Right. So you don't stride confidently to the coffee pot and grasp it. No, you slap your half sleep ass over to the damn coffee pot and rub your eyes, scratch your nuts, fill the pot, blah 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 blah. It's a state of being. That's all acting is, man.
Yeah, that's true. Ah, you see, you've opened it to like a new way for me now. Maybe that's interesting. But yeah, I have such admiration for people that can do. what you were just talking about with theatre work, because it's just another level compared to any other sort of acting. Um, so would you say, so for yourself, right? Do you feel confident on stage enough where you could be like, like if the right role came up for you and there was a role that just really like ticked all the boxes for you, would you feel confident just to take that and run with it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you why. My dad always instilled, appreciation for the arts. For instance, fun fact, I've been to more operas than I have concerts.
Wow.
So, I've only been to two concerts. One was the Beastie Boys at the height of when Intergalactic was huge.
Ah,
And I had the privilege and honor of seeing BB King.
wow.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
So, like when I was a kid, uh, Axel F from Beverly Hills Cop, I think it was.
Yeah.
That do 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 that tune. That's like a 5 minute fucking instrumental. So I had one of these little keyboard things, his little shit keyboard, and my brother had a boombox, and I called my ma in. I wanted to give her a personal concert, and she's like, "All right." So she sits on that bed. I got the little keyboard on this side, and I hit play, and for 5 fucking minutes, I'm not playing, but giving a
Yeah.
shout. And she sat there like she was watching Elvis fucking Presley. And afterwards, she just, whoa, So it's kind of like I was built with the intent to perform, even though they
Yeah.
either wanted me to be a lawyer or a priest. I ended up being a Marine.
You know, this is another thing that I found. So I've done around 30 interviews now with actors, and it's crazy how every single one were talking about how when they were growing up, their parents, not necessarily maybe acting wasn't their first choice, but were always like supportive and pushing them to continue to do acting. And I'm starting to really find like that's how important that is to, like you said, if a child has a creativity, to let them run with it and not to hold them back to get your normal 9 to 5 job.
Yep. Like I paint murals, and my ex-wife at the time, I was painting the girls' doors. I had a pair of girls, just the little panels on their doors with little scenes, butterflies, shit like that.
Hmm.
So the girls were wanting to help. And we woke up one morning and like crayon and paint and shit was everywhere, like all over the walls. And my wife flipped the fuck out. I pulled her in the other room. I was like, don't ever fucking do that again. She's like, what? They just ruined the fucking wall. I was like, no, they were being fucking creative. So like years after that, um, a lot of her friends that she worked with, she worked in a factory in Alabama. And a lot of her friends were single moms. And I was going to college at the time. So I knew a lot of single moms there with kids. And I'm like, you know what? I saw an ad in the paper that like an art class was being conducted for like $200 a month. And I'm like, who the fuck can afford that? Not poor people. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I started my own art class free. Every Saturday, kids would come over and we'd do a lesson. And so about 2 weeks into it, uh, some of the moms, as they were dropping the kids off, they wanted to hang out and watch. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And why though? They're like, well, my shy itty bitty little girl is now walking around the house with her shoulders back and her chest out, saying, "I am an artist, mom." I'm like, "Fucking a, she is."
That's
So I got them all together, and this is cool. Uh, I gave all of them, parents and kids, a piece of paper and a little pencil, and I gave them 5 seconds to draw a bird. You don't have to finish it, but do as much as you can. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, done. All right, everybody's shit. I was like, I goddamn guarantee I know which side, kids or adults drew what. And here's why. because the adults did the little V. It's a bird, you know? And the kids legit tried representationally to draw a bird. So there's beaks and some wings, you know, none of them are really finished. And therein lies the difference. This is why you don't crush children's creativity, because somewhere along the line, someone told you adults that that doesn't make sense. It won't pay the bills. Da, 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 da. It doesn't matter if it does or not. You fucking do it anyway, because being creative is part of the human experience, you know? I mean, from the
Yeah,
caves of Lascaux, you don't speak language when you come out the womb, you sing.
yeah,
So, I mean, being a creative is just it's natural. It's what you should be doing
yeah,
in school.
100%. 100%. You know, that's crazy. It's like you said, you know, that's actually really interesting. So did you find then that most, you know, as you sort of showed the differences between what the parents drew and what the kids drew, that that was quite a common theme?
Yeah. Well, I just
Wow.
I came up with it on the spot. You know,
That's a crazy analogy though. No, that's actually amazing.
it's true, dude. And I was
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
you can't crush their creativity, you know, because that diminishes their soul and makes this place less warming, less inviting.
yeah,
You know, I mean,
yeah,
there's art everywhere, from stop signs and the color of lights at stoplights to architecture to every fucking thing. There's creativity everywhere. You just don't
yeah.
realize it.
Absolutely. Um, so when you were, it might have changed whether you from you when you were younger to now, or maybe it hasn't. Um, who or what inspires you?
I think uh, all my heroes have a police record, from Jesus of Nazareth to uh, John Lennon, Mahatma Gandhi, MLK Jr., uh, the people that went their way, Bob Marley, you know, and just people that in the moment realize how they can affect the world.
That's
I want to be
awesome.
one of those fucking people. And I have in
Yeah.
small ways, you know. There's this little girl, Kira, huge fan. And I was doing a horror convention in Tennessee, I think it was. But
Hmm.
I got her a full package, VIP, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
I met her, and she's got a lot going on medically. And
Yeah.
she's like the middle child. I was the baby, so I was doted on. So, but my brother, you know, not so much. But so I mean, I wanted to show her an incredible time, and I did. You know, we saw each other and started running, and you know, did the whole Titanic, whatever. You know, I snatched her up, I grabbed her, and you know, we got her all sorts of stuff that nobody else gets. She got to meet all the guests, and you know, all that kind of shit. So she got tons of free shit. So just to make her, you know, feel a little better, you know. And I told her, you know, we're made from the same stuff, and we fight
Yeah.
for every fucking inch we get. And surrender is a word I just don't fucking understand. And so, you know, she was getting ready to go in the hospital for a procedure, and her mom called me, and I was like, you know, do you understand the word surrender? She's like, hell no. I was like, all right, that's my girl.
There you go. You
You
see,
know,
that's the thing. When you talk about obviously your inspirations, and you inspire to be like one of them. See, from your perspective, what you did for that girl, for you, that might be like just a small step, but for her, she would put you on the pedestal as one of those people because the strides you put in her mind and for her life, you
yeah,
know, that's like that's stuff that I really wish there were so many more people out there that would do for other people, especially people, you know, kids that are sick, like you know, like it's not fair. Like sometimes you think sometimes like the world's not fair, but you know, for you to go out of your way to really, you know, make her feel like special. Like that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
one of the best things I've ever heard.
I bought her a crown. But like like Johnny Depp does that as Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, I've
lots of
seen.
video of him visiting kids in hospitals and stuff like that. That's what I want to do. I want to have the character in my repertoire so I can show up as Captain Rob or whatever the fuck, and
Yeah,
make these kids smile for a little bit, make them
yeah,
forget for a little bit.
yeah. That's awesome. Maybe not necessarily when you were a child, but sort of before you got the role in Happy Death Day, were you a fan of horror, or did you ever see yourself going into horror?
I was a fan, not a fanboy, like, oh, everything is horror. If you saw the house that I live in, my fiance is a horror freak. She's like the encyclopedia
Really?
of fucking horror. She knows everything. Um, I mean, I wasn't really there wasn't a lot of horror. I was more of a mainstream sort of film watcher.
Yeah.
I never got into Batman. I never got into Marvel and shit like that. Like the earliest horror flick that I can remember is Salem's Lot. And
Wow.
that's because we were watching it in the basement, and it had ground level windows, the house.
Mhm.
And it was just me and my brothers in the dark. And, my dad was outside, unbeknownst to us, and he's running around to the different windows, scratching on them.
Oh no.
What the fuck was that? And then we'll keep watching, and then what the fuck was that? And right when Nosferatu wakes up and is like, my dad kicked the fucking door, and it was like, ah! And we were all like, 10 years old, cussing up a storm like I do now. And he's like, you better watch your fucking mouth. I'm just like I wasn't allowed to watch Children of the Corn. They were watching it
Right.
downstairs. I was not allowed downstairs, period.
Yeah.
And
I imagine at 10 years old though, I kind of understand why.
I was scared shitless. He scared the shit out of me, man. But
Yeah.
I always liked gothic horror, Edgar Allan Poe, for instance.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of Lovecraftians talk shit about people that love Poe, and I'm like, dude, read The Mask of Red Death aloud.
Right.
It's tough. It's a tough fucking read, because you get tongue tied because he's such a good fucking writer. He's such a master of
Hmm.
the craft. I loved all that kind of stuff. I had checked out from the children's library this phenomenal book of folk horror, and it's called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. Incredible book, and just I think everybody likes being the thrill of being scared,
Yeah.
but it's kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, what's truly scary in your life? Going to pick up the kids at school and they never made it to school, and you spent all day assuming they were at school. Where the fuck are they? That's fucking scary, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so for you, would you ever consider kind of going into a directing role or coming up with like a producing role for maybe your own movie or someone else's?
It's funny you mention.
Ah.
I've written a couple of pieces, and if you jump on, I think it's YouTube, just put my name in, and Love is Black and White. That's
Hmm.
that was the first. That was the only thing I've ever actually directed. Uh, but my fiance and I, we met through she was producing a indie horror film, and I really really liked the cover art, and so I get invited to be in this group, like this film, that show
Yeah.
support. Of course I do, and I'm like, man, I messaged her. I'm like, man, this cover art is fucking banging. Have you guys cast yet? She's like, no, not yet. Why? I was like, well, do you mind if I read the script? To see if it's comparable to this art. Because if so, I wouldn't mind being a part of it. And she's like, acting? I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. She's like, well, okay, you got it. Like, oh, I don't have to audition. She's like, no, I've seen your movies. I know what you look like and shit, you know. I was like, all right, that's fucking cool. So uh my rate is double scale, which is $2,000 a day. And I know indie horror films don't have, you know, $6,000 laying around to give one guy. So I was like, you know, I'm negotiating with Rebecca. That's my fiance. And she's like, all right, let's talk turkey. How much? How much do you cost? I was like, well, just get me there, feed me, and give me $1,000. But this is 2 weeks worth of shooting. So that's,
Wow.
uh, I do want points on the end, producer points. So if it sells, I'll get a percentage of those sales. And she's like, all right, done. And she goes to the director and he's like, fuck no. And she's like, what? You're dumb and fuck you and quit. She messaged me. She's like, dude, me and my sister, fuck that guy, but stick with me. Me and my sister, we got this great idea. Uh, you know, and told me the basic story. And so they started writing the embalmers, which is right behind me. That one.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, there's no mistake in that forehead, right? So, you know, as they're writing, we cast before we wrote it. So we really wrote the script around the people that were involved. And I got the chance to write a couple of scenes, a couple of my scenes. And one of them was called Date Night. And you can tell when you watch the whole film, you can tell which scene I fucking wrote. And so it was called Date Night. And so my character is one of three that runs a funeral parlor and is kind of immortal.
Oh,
And long story short, he's been traumatized. So he doesn't really get along with the living very well. And so the sisters set him up on a date. So now I'm thinking through horror. I'm like, okay, I've seen demons, I've seen, you know, Azazel and, you know, ghosts and monsters of all kind. The one thing I haven't seen that's really macabre is necrophilia. So I'm like, okay, I got an idea. Like 5 minutes, I banged out like fucking 10 pages. And it was a date night to be shot with my date as though she were living throughout the whole thing. You know, we have a nice dinner, we do a little dancing, we get down on the table, uh, all that kind of shit, as though she were alive. Then we shoot it again with her in her current state. She's dead as fuck. So I'm like dancing, I'm carrying her. And we got a great shot of her feet like dragging on the floor.
oh my God.
And so when you intercut the two, you know what I mean? You'll get my reality and then the reality in the
Yeah.
same fucking scene. It was really, really well done. Um, I wrote it a lot darker than it turned out because it was it was interpreted to be more about love than, you know, any carnal thing or anything like that. So we finished shooting the embalmers, and again, you have a beverage when you're done. And I'm bullshitting with her, and I'm like, all right, well, what do you got up next? You know, I wouldn't mind being a part of that because she, I mean, I've worked with Antoine Fuqua, Mike Hoffman, I mean, Chris Landon, you name them. Not Oliver Stone. I'm not so sure I want to, but like all these directors had underlings and tons of assistant directors and you know just legwork people,
Mhm.
and they get the job done. Well, she didn't have any of that, and she got the fucking job done. I mean, she had her shit so wired tight. It was fucking impressive. So I assumed that she would have another one, another film coming in the pike. And she's like, nah, I got to get a straight job, this. I'm like, wow, you're pretty fucking amazing. And I was like, all right, ideally, what would you like to direct? And if you know my fiance, she's got a tattoo of Jason on her back, Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's a Jason nut. And she's like, I want to direct a camp slasher. I'm like, well, I'll write the fucking thing if you want to direct it. And she's like, all right, cool. So I came up. I was in New Orleans at the time. I came up, and it was a real bohemian kind of thing. She's on this end of the table editing the film we just finished, and I'm on the other end of the table writing the next one. So like in 4 days, I whipped out 88 pages. And it was a combination of, depending on what's going on, it was either coffee or rum that was getting ingested. So we called it Tin Roof. And there was a lot of tropes that we didn't want. For her, it was, the college girl, the young girl, living on daddy's credit card, running through the rain with her titties popping out.
Every slasher.
Right. We got a lot of we've got a lot of twists and stuff that you wouldn't see coming. And we had Joe Castro do our FX, our real effects. So it was pretty amazing watching him do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we haggled for about 7 days over kills. We didn't want to do the same usual shit that you would see, in a camp slasher, because that was the main driving thing. Whenever you read a review about like a camp slasher, it's the phrase, what you would expect from a camp slasher, or this is your typical camp slasher. We didn't want any of that, so we didn't do that.
Of course, yeah. Wow.
But we're in post-production. She's pretty well got the skeleton of the film together, and we're scoring, ADR, sound design, stuff like that, which is a bitch.
Yeah.
But we didn't want any real big names. Like I got tons of friends, and I could have them come in and do it, but I didn't want that. I wanted a true casting process, and whoever was the best got the fucking part. Like
right.
Paul Taylor, a friend of mine, he played Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
He auditioned,
Wow.
didn't get the part. He just wasn't the right, what we were looking for. But we had a lot of fucking weird ones, man. I took the audition instructions from the Magnificent Seven audition,
Yeah.
and of course removed Magnificent Seven and stuff like that. But just the directions, your framing, and lighting and all that shit. And like, I had so many goofy ass ones. I had a dude walking down the street in the Bronx holding his phone, going, I'm just like, oh my fucking god. So I mean, if you can't follow directions that are written out that you can reread so that you understand, you're not going to be directable. So no, if you don't follow the directions, you go right in the fucking subfolder. I had one girl, I had everybody sign an NDA, and then they got their sides and instructions, and I gave them like 2 months. And this one girl who had been in like part 13 of a well-known franchise, but the part that nobody fucking watched and was horrific. Like, my fiance loves horrible movies, but she said she had to look this girl up to see what film it was. And she's like, oh yeah, that piece of shit. But this girl was like, I sent her the NDA, And then I sent her the sides and the instructions. I was like, if you have any questions, feel free, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, this is an audition. I don't audition. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you don't audition? Like, I've been in 2 Bloomhouse films and fucking worked across the street from fucking Denzel Washington. I audition, you know? And she's like, oh no, I get offered parts. I'm like, look, honey. So uh, I wrote up a little response. And luckily for her, I sent it to Rebecca for approval because it's it's unanimous or it's not done between
Yeah,
us.
for sure.
And she's like, don't send that one. Be a little more passive aggressive, professional kind of thing.
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, fine. But like, but with the combination of all these fucked up auditions, all of the just, uh, we created on our Google account uh, a bunch of subfolders, and that's the joke of Tin Roof made by Subfolder Studios, and like that one that I only get offered parts email. Yeah, that one went under the subfolder of I wish a bitch would, because I sent her a note that was like basically, in order to ensure a fair casting process, everybody has to follow this process, or you're just not going to be in the fucking film. You know, real nice, real cool, but the response letter, the one that didn't get sent, was basically like, bitch, who the fuck do you think you is? You know what I'm saying?
I
Just
can't. That's the thing. It would have been like like you said, it's a mixture of like you probably just had one after the other of consistent people not following instructions. But like I can't believe that in this day and age, people actually don't think they have to audition. Like, no, there is not I mean, you have to be top of the elite 1%ers that just get offered roles, and even then, they tend to have to audition amongst themselves. Everyone has to audition.
well, I mean, I've gotten offered roles.
Yeah,
I got one recently. I'm going to be flying to Florida. It's a film about skimboarding, which I had to look up what the hell that was.
yeah.
But I'd worked with those guys before,
Ah,
so they know what to expect. And
well,
this,
yeah.
this, this.
But that's the difference
And
because you've worked with them before, so they're aware of you, who you're like, your look, your work. They're aware
yeah,
of how you operate. But when it's somebody you've never met before, but because they've been a part of a franchise,
yeah,
we won't disclose what movie or franchise that is. Suddenly
I don't even
they're
remember, dude.
entitled. um, they just feel all of a sudden they're like entitled to things. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
mind blowing.
You're entitled to 2 months to finish your fucking audition. Now leave me the hell
But
alone.
even, to be fair, even still, 2 months, it seems like quite a generous amount of time. Like,
was, it was, man. And just like even then, I had people after the deadline going, "Hey, is it too late to audition?" I'm like, "Yes."
oh, dude.
As you'll note in the original email, this is your fucking deadline.
Yeah,
So if you can't do one scene in 2 fucking months, I don't want you anyway.
yeah. I
So
mean, how
goodbye to
teachable are
you.
they at that point?
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. Some of the other ones, there was a subfolder, tardy motherfuckers, dumbasses that can't follow directions. Uh, there was a miscellaneous, aka I don't
Oh,
know where the fuck to put this shit. And that's where the guy walking down the street in the Bronx, he had his phone going.
Hey,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
made some memories though. At least it's made some good memories for you to laugh and look back on.
Oh yeah. And we should be out. We should be done. Should be by the beginning of the summer.
Okay,
So
so
you can pre-order Tin Roof. Just look up Tin Roof movie.
mhm.
Get up with Rebecca. I think we're gonna try and get some finishing funds. So she doesn't want to half-ass it. Just to get it done for the sake of getting it done. This is her fucking movie. You
For
know,
sure.
and I don't want to spoil any of it. I can't. She'll kill me.
No, you don't have to. No, honestly. Well, if no matter what happens, if you whether it be on your social media or if even if you want to, if you send me any links to anything, whether it's like a release date or even a final funding campaign, you could just send it to me, and then I could always add it at the top of the link so people can sort of check it out and decide if they're going to fund.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, anything to help support anything sort of indie or horror related. That's what we're here to do. It's what the people want. I like to try and cross that blend of path between the fans, the viewers, and actors and directors. So that's awesome. So anything I can do, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
Um, just one final question, if that's okay. Because I know I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Um,
You got shit else to do, man.
Um, if you could, I mean, I know we spoke a lot about sort of advice and looking after people, but if you could give anyone watching or listening to this just one piece of advice, what would that be?
Ah, Jesus Christ. Okay, I'll tell you what I tell my kids. You are completely and utterly unique. You've never existed before. And I don't care what your theology is, you're never going to exist again. This little vessel, never before and never since. So you've got this small sliver of time to tell your story, which is utterly unique. Even with twins, I've got twins in the other room. They're completely unique. So just figure out how and have the confidence to tell the world your story, however the fuck you want.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. It has been such a pleasure to get to speak with you, and I can't wait to see sort of what your career comes up going forward and the movies that you're part of as well. It seems incredibly interesting. I look forward to it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot of fun. Uh, shit. I remember like the first set, studio set I was on was Badasses on the Bayou. And like, I was just amazed, there's trucks everywhere, extras over there, and this. I mean, like I was fucking mind blown. So when you get to set, they bring you to your trailer and the paperwork's on the bench with the contract and all that. And then, the AD, the base camp AD brings you to, hair and makeup, wardrobe, et cetera, et cetera. So I got my wardrobe, and when they opened the door to hair and makeup, who the fuck is sitting right there getting his hair did? Danny fucking Trejo. And it was the only time, dude, that I've kind of been starstruck. I was just like, I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting to see Danny fucking Trejo right there, you know. And he's like, "Hey man, where the fuck you been? Get in here, man!" And what a fucking sweetheart of a man that dude is, and he's just cool as fuck, And there's
Oh,
just a million stories like that, you know. We were on set, and there was a lightning storm outside, and according to SAG rules, you have to wait an hour until the last, boom
mhm.
of thunder, and so me and Danny are outside with his stunt double watching the lightning, you know. And he's like, "So what's your deal, man?" And like Danny T's like tit high on me, but he's like two of me wide. And he's like, "So what's your deal, man?" I was like, "Well, and this is my first, actual film." He's like, "Oh man, that's fucking awesome," Da, 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 da. Excuse me. He's like, "All right, so like, what's your ambitions, man?" I'm just like, "Well, you want the truth?" He's like, "No, lie to me." "Yeah, I want the truth, man." I was like, "I want to replace you." And he fucking froze. And the Danny Trejo look.
Yeah.
What'd you say? I was like, "Allow me to explain before you rip my fucking head off of my shoulders, man." I was like, "Dude, you're like the go-to bad guy in Hollywood, but you, De Niro, Keitel, all you guys are getting up there in age. I'm simply seeking to replace you. That's all." And he's like, "Oh, huh. Well, good luck." I'm like, I survived it. You know, I was stoked. He's a really sweet guy though. Really cool.
Yeah,
I got tons of stories like that. Shit.
that's awesome.
Well, there was one. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, honestly, I'm free. That talk away. This is what we're here for.
So, well, on the set of The Best of Me, we shot that in New Orleans, the New Orleans area.
Hmm.
And it was getting to be summertime, and summertime in New Orleans is fucking hot and miserable.
Right.
And so we were doing an indoor shoot, but the it was a hardware store, but the back door was open, so you could see people walking by on the street, shit like that. Well, we did like 70 something fucking takes just because of the movement, the angles, you know, everything. And it was all fucking morning. So then we break for lunch, and it was at this old Dollar General store, you know, that had been gutted, and they got the little whiteboard with the menu outside, and I'm like, oh, cool. You know, it was like steak and lobster or some crazy shit. And, and this lady was kind of leaning up against the wall on the outside, and I'm like, wow, it was that good. You know, you kind of like a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you pop the top button on your pants. She's like, oh, I haven't even been inside yet. I don't even know. I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I think I just got a little too much sun. You know, walking around outside. So like the Marine in me was like, ding, 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 heat stroke, heat stroke. So I was like, why don't you come inside? There's AC. I'll get you a chair. And she's like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm like, yes, this is happening, lady. So I got her some water and shit like that. So some of the PAs, I was in the top 10 in cast in that one, and they really take care of you. And they, so some of the set PAs were walking up, and I'm like, I had an idea. So I did exactly what that lady did, leaned up against the wall. And the girls were like, hey, Rob, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know, man. I think I just got a little too much sun. Bearing in mind that I was indoors all fucking day. Boom. They were on the horn with the doc, and he come running up. He's like, Rob, what's going on? You got too much sun? You need some water? Da, da, da. I was like, no, I'm fine, but she's not. And she was insistent on me not doing anything to attract attention to her,
Wow.
because if she didn't feel good on set, they'd just fucking fire her. And
Wow.
I'm like, no, 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 that ain't fucking happening. So Mike, the director, he directed Soap Dish too. Great fucking movie. Mike walks up. He's like, what's going on? I was like, well, I walk up. This young lady's not feeling well, possible heat stroke and shit. And she's worried that she's going to get fired because she's human. And I was like, dude, please tell me that's not the fucking case. And he's like, absolutely not. And then he went and, you know, made sure she was okay, and da 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 da. Extras in background get treated like shit, man. And I
Wow.
fucking hate it.
Yeah. But do you think that's because in some cases, like the not obviously not the immediate cost, but the crew kind of see it as they're like they're in a privileged position to be on set and to possibly be in the role of movie, or why do you think that is?
Uh, well, principals and like crew have to eat first to keep the schedule going.
Right.
But like, you know, just like on Mag 7, they had to sign a contract that said they wouldn't even look at us, much less talk
Oh,
to us. And I'm like, why? That's because I'm trying to talk to these guys, you know, in between takes and shit like that. And like they're all looking at the ground and shit, you know, saying giving one word answers and shit. And I'm like, so much for Southern hospitality. What the fuck is going on with you guys?
yeah.
And they're like, oh well. And then they told me, I was like, oh no, no, no. We can bullshit. Matter of fact, when we get out of here, we're going to get a beer. Please come by. So we did, you know, and it just tons of stories like that. Like on Mag 7, it was in Baton Rouge during the summer, which is fucking miserable. And we're in period costumes. And this older lady, now they tell you, they give you a prop. The prop goes with you wherever you go. So you're
Yeah.
responsible for the prop. And there's this old lady with like the old West dresses, I mean, layer upon layer, and it's fucking beaming hot. And she's, red faced and just sweating her ass off, the poor thing. And I'm like, well, why don't you go inside the principal's holding? There's AC there. She's like, oh, no, 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 that's for principals. I can't do that. I'm like, you're so I grabbed her basket, her prop. And she's like, wait, what are you doing? I was like, well, you go wherever your prop goes, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, all right, good. And I stopped walking to the principals. I planted on top of the little machine, the AC machine, and Pratt's in there, and shit, who else? Oh God, a few other guys, Martin, and so I was like, hey guys, this is Margaret, and she's feeling a little hot, so she's gonna hang out with us for a little while. That cool? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, oh, what the hell is his name? Uh, he played the cop in opposite Denzel. Shit, he was in Smile, I think it was, or whatever that recent horror flick was.
Yeah, no, Smile. Yeah, that's the recent big one. Yeah.
No, it was the one before that, like the Black Phone or something.
Oh, okay. It'll
Fuck
come
is it?
to us later. It'll come to us.
That dude. Uh, really, just everybody ran to take care of her, and so like when Chris Pratt hands you a fucking bottle of water and is rubbing your back, and like, are you okay? Are you okay? You know, that tripped her the fuck out, but she stayed on set, and it just to show people that you give a fuck,
Yeah.
you're human. That's
Right.
dude, that's somebody's grandma.
This is it.
And
Yeah.
same thing on set of Heart Baby. There's two different chow tents, one for principals, one for extras. And like extras get pasta. And while the principals get like, a crudité and a fucking steak and shit like that. And I'm like, food's food. So I go line up with the extras, and they're all like, oh, you want to get in front of me? I'm like, no, no, I'm good. And all the principals are walking to the principal tent. And one of the guys was like, dude, you're in the wrong line. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good with this line. He's like, no, that's not where we go to eat.
Oh.
Like, all right, back the fuck up, And so he went his way, I went mine, and we just bullshit with everybody at the table, and just eating fucking food, man, doing human shit. I
Yeah.
I just don't like how the stratification of it, you know,
Right.
which I mean, there's reasons for it, but you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, the thing is, it's like it's one of those things that is always going to exist. There's always going to be some split between the high profile cast and the extras and the side cast. But hopefully, let's say if we get more people like yourself who sees it as people just people, hopefully we can start to see a bit of change. Obviously,
that would be
like
nice.
you said, that there are reasons why um, it can be split, but hopefully we'll see some change.
Yeah, I mean, scheduling and shit like that. Yeah, I understand, but shit like a certain actor on Mag 7 never ate with the principals, only ate in
Oh,
his fucking trailer. And I'm just like, why, dude? But eventually he came and hung out. Ethan
yeah.
Hawke, that's his name. Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. Oh my, how did
Yeah.
I not forget his name? Oh my God.
I don't know. How the fuck
As
did
soon as you
I?
said Black Phone, as soon as you said Black Phone, I was like, that should have like clicked in my head.
Yeah. Really funny guy, really cool dude. We had in Mag 7, we were supposed to do kind of a picket line. It's warfare.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to defend this town. I'm like, and Hawk is supposed to be this southern like Confederate officer,
Mm.
so he would know all about picket lines and shit, but he had no fucking clue. He's like, all right, everybody's gonna stand up on three and shoot. And I'm like, that's fucking dumb. He's like, excuse me? I was like, that's fucking dumb, and it's not historically accurate at all. He's like, okay, Sun Tzu, how would you do it? I was like, it's intervals, two teams, Team one fires, team two reloads, and then when team one is done firing, they reload, and then it's a constant rate of fire. He's like, oh shit. Well, thanks, man. And so that's what we did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, Skarsgård, Peter
mhm.
was the antagonist in that, and like he got the script
Wow.
the day before, and so he's in real time making his character, and I'm hanging out with him. He's like, man, I feel like it needs a little something, a little character, like paprika. There's nothing
Hmm.
to it. It just makes it look pretty. I was like, well, give him tuberculosis. He's like, why? I was like, well, one, it was very prevalent in this time, and it didn't matter if you were rich or not. And two, you remember Doc Holliday in whatever it was, Tombstone? He's like, yeah. I was like, he had TV. So like, cough into your handkerchief a little bit and, wipe the blood from the corner of your mouth, that kind of shit. He's like, yeah, I think I'll do that. Thanks, man. So that's what he did.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Lots of cool
Um,
shit.
yeah. I don't want to get you into trouble, so don't. So if you don't can't answer, don't say. But I'm really interested across all of the TV show or movies you've done, because you've done your IMDb page is super impressive.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
have you ever taken a prop from set or like taken something from set that you're like, yeah, this is mine. But I understand there's things you might not be able to say, so it's cool if you can't.
Yeah. From the best of me, I stole a ring. Um, Shit. I try to steal little insignificant things like, yeah, like the chair backs. Half
Oh
to
wow,
Death
yeah.
was Half to Death was the original title of Happy Death Day.
Oh, okay.
And you see that little thing up there?
Yeah, yeah.
That was my scar in Fear of the Walking Dead. That was
Oh
the
wow.
prosthetic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just little shit like that. Nothing major,
Yeah.
like I tried to get one of the masks from HDD,
Yeah.
and I mean, props got hell on that set. Because the eye holes, it
Yeah.
wasn't felt or anything. It was like actual like window screening cut off
Hmm.
and glued. And so like when I'm pulling the mask back, like it scraped my face, and so I'm bleeding. I didn't even realize. And he's like, "Why the
Jeez.
fuck is my actor bleeding? What happened?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know. I just took the mask off." He looks and he's like, "Props." But here's a good one. Same set when I'm chasing her through the hospital and she gets through the chain doors. Um, so the deal was I'm the only one on this side of the door. Everybody and everything is on the other side of the door, like
Hmm.
$500,000 fucking cameras and shit like that. In addition to, Jess and I think Israel was on the other side as well. But he's like, all right, so here's the deal. She's gonna squeak through and the door will be open enough to where I want you to give it, a couple good kicks. Don't move, and then we'll put the breakaway chains on, and then you just kick it again and blow right past the camera. I'm like, all right, cool. But I'm a Marine. He's like, what the fuck does that mean? I was like, I know how to kick a door open. He's like, nah, I don't give a fuck. These ain't going nowhere. It's like the big industrial double doors.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you ain't that fucking strong. Just kick the shit out of it. Do what I tell you to do. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I give it one boot and I give it another boot, and the whole fucking thing, the frame, the doors went. I'm fucking mortified because I want to stop it because
Yeah, of
everything and
course.
everybody's over there. And I didn't want Jessica to get hit with 200-pound fucking doors.
Yeah.
But I was frozen, It was just like totally missed everybody, missed Jessica by like a fucking inch. But I was like, holy fuck. and props. But that's not props. It's location. It was just
Yeah,
shitty
yeah,
workmanship, I guess.
yeah.
They built
And
the
in
door.
fairness, you did give him you did kind of give him like pre-warning, right? Like that this
I did.
might happen.
I did. I didn't think that would happen, but it did. And I was, he come up. He's like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Is everybody else all right?" Because I'm the one on this side of the fucking door, man. He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's cool." I was like, "I fucking told you, dude." He's like, I got nothing."
yeah,
But Jessica's tough, tough, tough,
yeah.
and extreme professional. Like when I'm chasing her through the hospital, like right after I shot the nurse, and I'm really fucking fast. So it was down that long hallway kind of shot, and she was to run, turn the corner, and stop, and that's where hair and makeup and everything else was. And I'm chasing her with this fucking mask on. I turn the corner and she's like splayed out on the floor face down. I jump over and I'm like, what the fuck? And everybody, you can't say anything because we're rolling. And they were like, she had the hospital socks on. So she
Oh.
turned the corner and fucking face planted. And I got in the shot. I'm down the hallway. I'm like, Doc. Now, our doc on that set had been in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he come
Wow.
fucking barrel assing up. And, she was out for a second, but, she was tripping because her teeth were bleeding. Her mouth was bleeding. And she's a leading lady. And so to have
Mm,
your teeth get fucked up, something to
it's
worry
worrying.
about.
Yeah.
We ended that night's a shooting, and she was back first thing in the fucking morning. Okay, super tough girl, super tough.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that, it's cool that people like yourself, you know, the thing is, especially again with horror, a lot of leading women, um, they get very much categorized based on just being like attractive women and that maybe they were helped to get the roles in certain ways. So it's really cool for people like yourself, and I've had other actors as well come on and say, like these people are workers, they're grafters, they sacrifice a lot and they come in day out, like get beat up and come back the next day. That's really cool. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, she's super tough. I fell madly in love with Ruby Modine. Uh, when we were reshooting. Actually, that the clock tower scene, that was all on a soundstage
Downstage,
in
wow.
out in LA. And so like when I got to set, Ruby was coming out, and I was like, "There's my future ex-wife," and she just loved that. That was the funniest damn thing. And she snapped a selfie with me and sent it to her dad. And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 don't do that," because Matthew Modine is her dad, and he was running for the president of the Screen Actors Guild at the time. So I kind of wanted to fly under the radar. She's like, "No, it's already sent." So she sent our selfie to her dad with the caption, "This is my future ex-husband." I was like, "No." But
Uh,
yeah, dude, that whole sound stage, I was doing laps in preparation. And much
man.
like when that you've seen the behind the scenes of Jack Nicholson in The Shining,
Yeah,
beating the
yeah,
shit out of it's preparation, because I'm chasing this chick around a fucking campus. I'm gonna be sweaty and out of
yeah.
breath. So I'm doing laps around the fucking uh around the soundstage. It was a big ass soundstage. Got to the door to kick it open, and I'm just like but it's a lot that goes into very small things that you see
Hmm.
all the time, you know. And that's just one example, you
Yeah,
know.
and that's the thing, and I think that's what some of the viewers I mean, most definitely don't consider, right? Like again, for me, I wouldn't have even considered like, of course you're going to be sweating out of breath. So what you would have to do prior, like before shooting, maybe even just a 10-second scene, like
Yeah.
the effort you have to go to, like wow, like
Yeah,
No
I
wonder
mean,
why it's a hard industry.
little beads of sweat glistening on your forehead, which is considerable fucking forehead. But
Yeah.
it's you got to take it upon yourself to really understand everything you're trying to portray. Like in
Mm.
1883, it's hot as balls in Dallas in the summer, and like there was a scene where like we're going from Dallas to Montana, and my jacket is off. I had a big ass duster and undershirt and an undershirt under that, and just walking across the field, and there's this kid. Jesus Christ, there's this kid going like this by a fire, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, you moron? Oh God, it was just that guy. He had a couple of instances of dumbassery on that set, but that was a really rough set. I gotta say, it was probably the roughest one I've been on.
Well,
You
in
know,
terms of like conditions or
yeah,
cast or
conditions. Yeah, the
yeah.
cast was straight. Tim McGraw is a cool motherfucker. He's got a hell of an arm too.
I know. See, this
And
is the thing. When I'll never forget because so over in the UK, right, and this is something that I've spoke with other actors and we've had on Western movies and TV shows. They have made their way over here, but they're not really like talked about as much or like they haven't been nurtured as much as it definitely has in the States. So,
yeah,
I think Paramount Plus is definitely starting to try and improve that. And I think 1883 is a great sort of segue into if you're starting out in Western TV. And when I saw that Faith Hill and Tim McGraw there as big country fan, I was like, no, there's no way those guys are in it as well. So that to me, that must have been such like a cool cast. But you know, the conditions must be hard.
yeah, it definitely fucking was. Like on well, when I got cast, I told my ex, these two are gonna be in it, and because she's a country fan, and she started squealing, and I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" She's like, "They're like the couple in fucking country music," and ba ba
Yeah.
ba 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 ba. I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So I was talking to Tim, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I got a favor to ask. If you got a sec." He's like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" I was like, "My old lady, she's a huge fucking country fan. If I give her a ring, would you mind saying hi?" He's like, "Oh yeah, definitely." So I give her a ring. I woke her up from a nap, and I was like, "Hey, darling, I got an old friend here. Wants to say hey." She's like, "Oh, okay." I give him the phone, and he's, "What the fuck did he say?" So he made a joke because, like, I guess a singer after him, his thing was that he's the new Tim McGraw,
Right.
and what he's like, "Yeah, this is whatever the guy's name was." Just kidding. This is Tim McGraw, and he doesn't have a voice like me. And I could hear her fucking squealing and shit. I did that to my ma on Mother's Day with Gerald McCraney.
Mhm.
We just finished shooting The Best of Me, and he was on the phone with Delta, and I mean, they're so fucking cute. He was like, I love you," like he's in fucking high school, and I'm like, "I love you more," and in the back, and so we're having a beverage at the hotel lobby at the bar, and I was like, "Dude, it's Mother's Day." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I was like, "Is it cool if I give my ma a ring, tell her Happy Mother's Day? Would you mind, shooting the shit with her right quick?" He's like, "Definitely, definitely." Well, according to everybody that was at the house at the time, my mother was like this because Mac has a pretty distinct voice,
Yeah.
you know, and same with Sam. That Sam Elliott, that's what he fucking
Yes.
sounds like. You know,
Uh,
that was one of my questions. I was like, is that his stage voice, or is that just how he talks?
it's real
That's how
voice.
he fucking talks. And I was like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like
So
that whole cast was great. LaMonica was cool as hell. Like,
mhm.
everybody. It was just a
Yeah,
really tough fucking shoot, dude.
yeah. So would you say, yeah, for you, I take was it like weather conditions, or is it also does it include like the costumes and stuff as well? Because when I was watching it, it looked like it could have been such a grueling, like long days and a lot of heat problems as well. And
Yes. Like on the very first day, we shot they made a soundstage in a high school gym and they weren't running the fucking ACs even in
Mhm.
between takes because of the
Oh,
noise. And it wasn't very noisy at all. But I mean, by the end of it, I'm sitting across from Sam Elliott and he's just pouring fucking sweat, the poor guy. And one of the extras went thud. And we
jeez.
nixed the rest of the shoot that night. And da, 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 da. And I'm just like, dude, I ain't gonna be doing this if this is gonna be the fucking conditions. It's not safe.
Yeah.
So next day, them fucking ACs were running because I goddamn guarantee somebody's agent got a fucking very angry phone call. And
Yeah.
there was a guy with a bucket of ice water and towels.
Wow.
Little hand towel kind of thing.
Hmm.
Making sure everybody drinks water, which we were fucking guzzling water. But when you're in a sauna,
It
it
is,
goes
yeah.
right back. You know?
Yeah. So whereabouts was that filmed?
Dallas, Fort Worth specifically.
Yeah, because I don't think it was Dallas, but it's funny because I know I've interviewed Andrew Bronowski in the past, who played Leatherface in the
Yeah, I know.
2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he
Mm-hmm.
again they filmed a lot of that down in Texas, and again he echoed the conditions for that. I think he said during one scene he had to drink something like 72 bottles of water just because as soon as he took the mask off, it was just steam. And he got to the point where it's like he almost went to hospital multiple times because the conditions were just too brutal.
Yeah.
So is is it so would you say then filming down because Texas seems to be obviously like where a lot of these insane conditions are, like, do you think is there like going to be processes in place where it's a bit more safe for cast? Because it seems like we're touching the edge between somebody having like actual health implications because of it.
Yeah. Well, there are SAG rules, and if you're even if you're not a member, the set itself is the Screen Actors Guild SAG, and the producers have to be signatory to it. So they have to
Yeah,
follow SAG rules, and if they don't, SAG will nab that ass. You know,
yeah,
like in Magnificent Seven, there are penalties. So after a certain amount of time, you have to break for lunch, and you have to provide food and shit like that.
yeah.
And if you don't make that deadline, if you're late, that's a meal penalty. That's like $150 every 10 minutes, I think it is, per cast member.
Wow.
Mucho dinero.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's a
that's
lot
the
of shit
thing.
like that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, obviously, I know there's going to be. I mean, I'm not even in the industry, right? So there's nothing I could ever talk about, regards to what the agreements are with the contract production companies, directors, etc. But it just seems to be like every actor that I've interviewed that's filmed in and around Texas. There's always been somebody that's just almost at that thin line between going to hospital or not because of the heat and the conditions. And I'm like,
It's fucking
something's
hot.
got to change, man. Like there's got to be stories where someone struggled like majorly.
I'm sure. But I mean that kind of shit, like the SAG rules were developed because that shit happened.
No, I think we've covered everything. Rob, it has been such an honor and a privilege to get to speak with you. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening to my bullshit.